Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today I'm going to talk about these two cold frames. One that you buy, it's going to cost you $200, $250. I'm going to show you how I set it up. And then one that you can build. Let's just say this can cost anywhere, depending on where you get the parts and pieces, anywhere from $10 to $20. Totally effective. I did this last year. It works really well. You can use cold frames to grow, like you could plant in your cool weather crops, grow them longer into the season. I've set these up so that I can put in transplants. Any divisions that I'm doing, cuttings that I'm doing. Early spring, I will put out some cool weather crops in containers, and I'm going to grow my transplants this way. So I will show you how to set up the more expensive one, and then I'm going to show you how to build this from ground zero. It's a perfect way to extend your growing season, start early in the spring, or to grow your transplants. Here's the space that I'm going to clean up. This is where the low tunnel cold frame, the cheapest way to kind of build one, is going to go right in here. Depending if I'm growing something, I'll remove the mulch and I'll seed it up and I'll grow through the late fall and winter. If I'm just going to be putting plants out here early in the spring in containers to harden them off, I'll leave the mulch. I'm going to decide what to do with that. Those are materials that I used to build that design last year, but it expanded this whole length. So I'm just going to repurpose it, set it up here. This is your standard cold frame. I got to clean it up. This is really going to be for putting indoor seed starts, other plants in here in containers, getting them acclimated to the temperature for the spring. So I'm going to set this up a little bit differently. And I just wanted to cut in real quick because my garden channel is a teaching channel. So I'm going to show you ways to do the same thing in a number of ways. More expensive, less expensive. In 2025, I'm going to be focusing a lot of my videos on new gardeners. I'm going to try and cut it down to no frills, no extra stuff you need to buy. Keep it simple, just get in the ground and grow, get a year's worth of experience. And I'm also going to be focusing on budget-friendly projects and just ways to grow food and not spend a fortune, because you can spend so much money on fertilizers and stuff. That's another video. But again, this is only 10 bucks, 20 bucks. Build yourself a cold frame. It works. It's 100% effective. And you can start growing earlier in the spring, or you can grow later into the winter. This cold frame's about, I think it's like 5 years old, and it was expensive. It was like $250. Got it online at Costco. I don't think they're there anymore. The brand was Jewel brand. And in this space, again, I'm going to be doing the budget design for your cold frame, your low tunnel. So you got to decide, what you want to grow in there. I wouldn't put in a lot of mulch if I was going to be dropping seeds, because the wood would challenge those plants for nitrogen. I have potatoes coming up that were left over from earlier this year, but I am going to use this space really to put potted plants out here. First thing I want to do, clean it up, just soapy water, a sponge with abrasion on it that's plastic that won't scratch it, clean off all the algae and stuff like that. I moved this from its original location, and you can see the sun coming in. South is this way. You want the angle going south as much as you can. Come winter, the sun drops, the angle of the sun drops in the sky, the areas get less light. This is the perfect place. Where I had it before, it lost afternoon sun. This location, facing south, west is that way, it gets the maximum, it gets the maximum amount of light fall and winter by being in this place, and that's what I want. You really want to drop your cold frames where the light stays for the entire part of the day come late fall and winter. When you get the cold frames with polycarbonate, they usually have tubes in it. Water gets in there, you get algae growth on the outside. So this is what it looks like right now after the move. Just soap and water, a sponge that won't scratch. We'll clean this up. It's going to be plenty of light to take care of this space, but they do age, water does get into the tubes, and you do see algae growth at times. Here's what the inside looks like before I clean it. It's not been cleaned for well over 3 years, probably since the beginning, so almost 5 years. It looks much better. That little cleanup is going to let in so much more light, which will bring in more warmth to the space. The light will, of course, help the plants grow. So cleaning it up, once a year, soap and water, does the trick. It's going to look good. You're going to still see algae in the tubes and stuff like that. Not much you can do about it. But again, this was like 250 bucks, and it does have its flaws. Although it's sturdy, does a great job, it's still really expensive. So let's get over to the other dig, or to the other build, where you can really probably build that for like $10. Here's the start of the cheaper version you can build yourself. We're just going to be using greenhouse plastic. You can use wooden stakes, metal posts. Notice how the one on the right is lower, the one in the center is taller. I will link the full build video for this that I did a year or two ago in the video description, but you'll get the idea. So the taller post is right in the middle, and that's going to be the top of the roof. The plastic then will slope down to here, come straight down, and then some excess will come out to here, and then we'll drop bricks on it. And then you just take the bricks off, lift up the plastic, get into, you know, the space that you want. You can measure this so that you know how many flats may be able to fit into there, and you can really create whatever size you want. I'd like to have things a little bit smaller. They're easier to manage, easier to take the plastic off, and I'll be able to put in plenty of what I want to put in here. I'm not going to be growing in here. I'm going to put down mulch like I did in that one. I'll show you that one in a second. And I'm going to be putting in lots of pots that have cuttings in there, or I'm going to be starting perennial herbs and flowers early in the winter. They're going to go in here and they'll do just fine, really. It's an outstanding way to grow. You don't need grow lights. You don't need to start them indoors. They'll get acclimated to the temperature. They grow, of course, much more slowly, so you want to start that sooner. But as soon as it starts to warm up in there, those perennial herbs, flowers will take off. We're going to do the same thing we did here on the other side, and then you end up, you know, angle from here to here and then back down. That builds the little house. The plastic goes over it, and you're pretty much done. That's the basic skeleton you want to design. Center post higher, post on the left and the right lower. Doesn't have to be perfect. You can see that one is crooked. One tip is to keep the rope as high as you can to the tip, to the top. If you put the rope down too far, like where the top of the metal is there's going to be a lot of pressure on the plastic and it can poke through. By having the string closer to the top, supports the plastic all the way down. That's the basic design. You want to leave enough of a gap in between projects so you can drop bricks down there. We're going to use greenhouse plastic. I recommend 3 mil, or if you're on a budget, you can use painter's tarp from Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that. Just get something that's thicker, and you want to cut it so that it covers everything up there, but then you have at least 2 feet coming out here to drop the bricks on. That secures everything down. Inside of here, I put down the mulch, and that's where I'll be putting, you know, my flats and stuff like that. Please subscribe and follow me. I'll show you how I grow those perennial herbs and flowers in both of these cold frames. And before I put on the plastic, I just drop down a quick layer of shredded hardwood, maybe, I don't know, 1 inch, 2 inches thick. That's about 2.5, 5 centimeters. And it's going to be perfect. So the plastic's going to go on. The height of the posts sort of mimic the size of this cold frame. The lower the top is to the earth, the warmer it stays in there. So you don't really want to raise it too high because it's going to really cool down at night because of the freezing temperatures. But, you know, something like that, you can eyeball it. Let me put my leg in there so you can get a sense of the height. Here's my knee. Here's the first post. And then there's my leg down there. No exact measures, just something that works for you. So the full build video will go into this in more detail, but when we're measuring, a lot of people think it's just from that post to that post. You have to measure a bit more. So you need 2 feet, 18 inches or so where it comes down here. That's like 45 to 60 centimeters. And then you have to measure up, not this post, but up that post, whatever the measure is there. And then you measure all the way down to the other post, back down, and then out another 18 to 24 inches. That's going to give you enough plastic to insulate this space. And then you would do the same thing. You would start on this end and you would want to be out, you know, 18, 24 inches. Then you come up this post, and then you'd come up this angle to here, down from this post, down to that post, straight down, and then out 18 inches or so. That gives you the measure so that the plastic does what it needs to do. And you're pretty much done. You can see how it's shaped like a house. Plastic's on, put down 2x4s, bricks are the best, they're nice and heavy. Just pin everything to the ground. You just remove the front, one side, lift it over, do the work you need to do inside. You can poke a hole right into the center if it looks like water's collecting, but with this design, most of the rainwater should run off. There's no need really to have water going into there. Once you water your seed starts, your plants that you're putting in there may be growing in the ground, the moisture should stay in there for a long time. As you do this, mid-fall, late fall, into winter, if the days get really warm, you do want to vent this because it can get really hot in there, so you don't want the heat to kill off your plants. But this is a good distance, I mean a good height, so a good distance from the ground, not too high. It's good to stay warm, and you can again start perennial herbs and flowers in there. You can put in cuttings. You can start your cool weather crops early in the spring this way. You don't just have to put seeds in the ground to grow that way. You can do all your transplants under this type of cold frame. This one's going to cost you again 10 to 20 bucks. Something like this is going to cost close to $200. Really depends on what you want to do. Both of them are effective. Thanks so much for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com. You can get all these seed starting supplies there. And please check out my blog. It's going to be really active come January 2025. It's therustedgardenblog.com. And please subscribe. I'll show you what I put in here, when I put it in here. We can grow perennials, annuals, cool weather crops. I'm going to be growing predominantly transplants. But join me for 2025. I'll teach you how to grow food and have some fun.